It's cold. I think I might regret not putting on my beanie. Anyway. All right, I've got my bleeding heart bushes here. I think they're bushes. I'm just going to call them bushes. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not offended if you correct me. Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, Hume's Little Homestead. I have something really exciting to show you. Let me just grab it. I guess I can show you. This is a bleeding heart bare root. This is the one I planted last year and I thought I killed it. So this plant has a very long story and I'm going to share it right now. But first I want to show you, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Do you see that growth right there? And that growth right there? So let me just tell you a long story about a little plant. So here's my little story about this little plant. We purchased this bleeding heart bush last year after we found out that our twin babies, Noah and Ezra's hearts had stopped beating. And it was just a really tragic time. I can't remember the exact timeline, if we bought the bush that day or if we bought it a couple of days later, or if we purchased it after we had actually had labor and delivery with the babies. I can't exactly remember the timeline. I want to say we got it after they were born. And anyway, we might have bought it that day though. I can't remember. I can't remember the exact date. I'll have to go back and look. I probably vlogged about it previously. Anyway, I planted this flower plant. I don't know, are they a bush? Let me see. I don't know if they're considered a bush or a vine or a flower or what. Anyway, we purchased them because I thought this is perfect. Our baby's heart stopped beating. This would be a perfect way to like have a memorial for these two babies. And so anyway, I planted it and it started to sprout. I kind of forgot about it for a while. I did put, it was in a really hot section. I didn't read about it and it was in full sun and they need shade and cool. They don't need it to be hot. And so anyway, when I found out that, I ran out and put a board over it. I just propped a board up so it was against the chicken coop and I just propped a board up so it got completely full shade. And then after a couple of weeks, it started getting a few leaves and then it was looking better and better. And then I was like so excited that this plant was growing. And then the really hot part of summer came and it like started dying again. And I was really, really sad. And I was really angry. I'm not gonna lie. I was sad that it just started to die. And so I dug it up and put it on the other side of the chicken coop where it got full sun during the day, but it just never recovered. It never looked like it was going to come back. It just died. And so I was like, I didn't want to give up on it. So I dug it up and I put it in this pot. This pot did not have these little spider plants in it at first. So I dug this piece up and it looked like this. It looked pretty much like this. And I just put it down in the soil and I put it under a grow light and I thought it'll come back to life. I'll put it under a grow light. And then it didn't. And in my house, we keep our house pretty warm, like 70, 71 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know if that's warm to you. That's how, I don't know. I just get really cold really easy. Never came back. And then I was doing experiments with these spider plants. These are the seeds that I started from the little seed pod from my mother plant. And so then I planted all of these all around it and I stuck it in a window and I never dug that up because I was like, it's probably dead. It's probably dead, but it's not hurting anything to leave it in this pot. And so I left it there. Well, this past week I saw in Tractor Supply, they brought out the bleeding heart bushes again. Okay. And it's actually really interesting timing a couple of my friends' father has just passed away, and I've been going to this store with them in mind, and I've been thinking about something I could give them, just because the grief is so heavy when someone first passes away. Like, it's just so heavy, and you want to do something, but you're not sure what to do. So anyway, I knew this was a really healing thing, even though mine died. I was like, maybe I could read about it and figure out a way to keep them alive and do it better again. So I bought each one of my friends one of these, and I also bought another one for myself because I was like, I'm going to try again, because I pretty much thought that this one was dead. I thought it was toast. I wasn't going to dig it up. Then I got online and I read an article, and I'm going to link the article in this description box so that you can read it yourself. And I found out that bleeding heart bushes go dormant at the end of summer. So like, digging it up, it wasn't great for it. I don't recommend digging it up and moving it all around, because I had planted it in one spot and then I dug it up and moved it. And when I dug it up and moved it, I didn't realize it was dying back because it was going dormant because it was late summer. Late summer, they go dormant again. And so like, I was just really bummed because it didn't bloom. It didn't do anything except get like 3 leaves. And I'm like, I killed this plant and I'm so sad. And so anyway, because it's supposed to remind me of my babies, and now everything is just dying around me. Anyway, I was just really mad. I was really, really mad. And so I found these, I read the article, and then I was like, it was dormant. And so I was thinking, I wonder if that plant is still dormant, because in my house, it's still like summer temperatures when the plant goes dormant, because what I was reading is that these plants do the best in early springtime, and then they go dormant mid to late summer, which is when this one was dying back. So it was actually very normal for it to be dying back, and it would come back next year if I would have left it, and if it could have gone through winter naturally. And so anyway, I pulled it out. So it was in this, and I just like, I wish I would have taken a video, but I didn't. So I pulled it out of there and I looked at it, and I saw that it's bigger now. It's bigger today, and you can see it way better, but I saw that little white, that's the one I saw. But it looked like this one on this other side. See how little that little white one is right there? See if I can get it to focus. But that little tiny white spot right there, that's what I saw on this side, and it's coming back. And so I was like, I've been keeping it too hot. Like, it needs to be in cool weather. And then the other thing I was reading about is that you can put these in container planting. And that's what I'm going to do, since we are in Arizona and our temperatures fluctuate so much in the area that I live in. So we do have real winter. I call it real winter. We have had, I think, 4 snowstorms this year. We get snow. We get the really cold weather. We get below freezing, I guess I should say. And this year, I think the lowest it's gotten here is -4 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's just like a guide. I know some people live in like areas that it gets like below 30 below, and like, ugh, I wouldn't want that. Like, so the most we've gotten is -4 degrees Fahrenheit this year. And so anyway, or I think actually it might have been -5, but when I was taking the kids to school, it had warmed up to -4, warmed up. And then by the time I got home, it was sitting right at 0. After dropping them off at school, it was like exactly 0. And I was like, okay, that's funny. Anyway, so it does get cold here. So we do have winter, and these types of plants, they need winter and they need that temperature fluctuation. So it's like perfect. But anyway, I read that you can put them in a container. And so I'm going to put these 2 that are mine in a pot so that I can move it to shady spots around the summer. And then I won't have to be worried about digging it up and when it's needing to be moved, or if, because the days are going to get longer and longer, maybe the spot that I put it in is like partial shade right now and mostly shady because of the temperature and the days, the daylight lengths. Do you know what I'm saying? But maybe in like the middle of summer, when our daylight hours are like, 10 hours long, that wouldn't be a great spot for it anymore. And the other thing I'm thinking is I can put it out on my porch, but also I don't really want it to freeze. I don't want it to have a hard freeze. And we do get random hard freezes in April, and then also into May. We get just like always like a random last hard freeze, and it kills off everything. That's the first year I lived out here in particular. I planted out all my tomatoes on May 1st and they died on May 15th because we had that super hard freeze. And I was like, ugh. They just completely died because they couldn't withstand it. So I'm thinking if it's growing really well, and you can also cover plants when it's going to freeze, a light freeze, but a hard freeze really, really kills things off. And I could like move my container back into the laundry room or something overnight. It's going to be warmer than it's used to, but that would be better than it going through like a hard freeze. You know what I mean? So this is my plan, and I'm just so happy it's alive. I'm so happy. I'm like, yes, I cannot believe it wasn't dead. And when I pulled it up, I was just like, oh, it's alive, it's alive. I told Ryan thinks I'm crazy. Ryan probably thinks I'm crazy. I was like, he was in bed and I was like, look, it's alive. And he's like, what's alive? Like, I'm sleeping. Like, I was like, look, you want to see something cool? And he's like, not really. Not really. I'm in the middle of sleeping. But my plant is alive. And then I just put it in this measuring cup with a little water because I didn't know what else to do with it. And I put it in a closet where it was dark and cold. And then I brought all of them in here to this bathroom where it was really cold. And I have been leaving the door closed so that the cold air doesn't get in, and just like leaving these things in the cooler temperatures because my house was killing them because they couldn't handle the warm weather. Or not killing them, just putting them back into a dormant state because they thought, oh, it's late summer, I need to be dormant right now. Really, it's like about to be spring, so they need to like wake up. So anyway, come along with me while I plant these. That's my very long but really exciting and interesting plant story, and how I learned what is best for bleeding hearts. So bleeding hearts will go dormant, and it's okay. It looks like they'll come back to life when it's time. So, all right, let's go plant. All right, it's cold. I think I might regret not putting on my beanie. Anyway, all right, I've got my bleeding heart bushes here. I think they're bushes. I'm just gonna call them bushes. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not offended if you correct me. I'm going to be using, normally I say just use what you have, but in the article I read, it says that you need to add some either sand or perlite. I happen to have perlite for my Venus flytraps. So I have perlite, and I also have, and it says to use as much organic stuff as you can. So I actually do have organic potting mix. So it's a really soft, fluffy mix. So normally I'd say use what you have, but I already failed with this plant once. Well, I guess I didn't really fail. It just didn't flourish and it wasn't as pretty as I think it could have been. So I think taking these steps of like getting the correct soil mix and the correct fertilizer. So I'm going to be using also fish fertilizer, and I'm going to fertilize these plants once a month since they are in containers. Like, they're going to need some fertilizer. And I just had some containers from, so anyway, I was just going to say, I normally say use what you have, but for today, I would recommend getting, if you want your plant to produce these blossoms, I recommend doing these steps: the fertilizer, the organic compost, the compost, potting mix, the higher grade potting mix, and the perlite. So anyway, the pots I just had in my garage, so I didn't buy anything new. I thought these ones looked pretty, so they'll look kind of nice out on my porch. So let's start with the little guy. I forgot something. I am going to use 3 parts potting mix to 1 part perlite. So what that means, I'm just going to do 3 cups of soil, 1 cup of perlite, and then mix it up like that. Look at that soil. Now I'm going to mix it with my hands. You can use gloves, and the perlite also puts out a lot of dust. So if you wanted to wear a mask to like protect yourself from the dust that it brings up, not a bad idea. We want to mimic how these plants grow in nature. In nature, they grow in the forest, like on a forest floor. So that's what the perlite or the sand is going to do. So if you don't have perlite and you have sand, use the sand like I'm using the perlite. 3 parts soil, 1 part perlite. It looks like I'm only going to have enough for 2.5, so I'm just going to do 2 right now and 1/2 of this. Now I'm not going to plant this very deep because its roots are so small. Like, I should have used a mask. Anyway, so I'm probably just gonna plant it like as deep as my fist, really, into the ground right here. This one might be different. This one probably has better roots going on. So I'm just gonna dig down in. See? And put this little guy down in. And I'm going to take the soil, because this perlite is super light. When I got it, I thought it was going to be like a rock. And it's not like that at all. It's just super light and airy. So I'm actually, to hold these ones down, I'm going to put soil on top of them to make sure they're not like blowing all over the place. And I'm actually going to tamp this down gently, not too hard or anything. I'm not like, but I'm just gently going to tamp this down so that when I water it, it's not going to, you know how when you water a fresh plant and it just sinks down like 2 inches? That's why I'm doing this, just firmly but gently. And then I'm going to cover it with the soil. And then we're going to watch it grow. And I'm so happy it didn't die. It was just in a dormant state. So sometimes we give up on plants and we don't realize that they're still alive. So I was just really happy to see that. Next thing I have to tackle is roses. I have not been successful at growing roses at all. So, bleeding heart bush number 1. My favorite part is like taking them out and seeing what do they look like. And I took the twisty tie off this one already to look down in and see how it was doing. And it had a little sprout. So I'm just going to cut this and you should be able to see it pretty good. You move this stuff. I think you can see it pretty good. Just be careful when you're cutting not to cut your plant. In fact, I'm going to peek in there. I think we're good. I'm just going to cut a little slit and then I'm going to tear it. Super easy to tear open. Oh, awesome. This one has good roots. Okay. So this one has better roots than what mine had. Wow. Look at that. Okay. So I'm going to decide how I want to plant this. I'm going to gently take some of this off and clean this up. I'm actually going to trim off some of this mushy dead stuff. This one looks very healthy. Cool. You know what? I won't waste this stuff. I'll put this in the bottom here. It's good. It has some like little wood chips in it, like it was talking about, like the forest floor. Anyway, so you can see this plant wants to grow this direction. You can see these little sprouts wanting to go that way. I'm not going to pry any of these roots Normally when you plant like a tree or asparagus even, you want to branch out all of those roots. And you know, I probably could have like pre-soaked this and then see how the roots are going, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine that I didn't pre-soak it. But I did that with some bare root plants last year and they did really well. I soaked them for about 6 hours, not any longer than that because you don't want them to start rotting, but I soaked them for 6 hours in water and then I planted them and they did really well. So I can't tell if that's a root. Yeah, that's a root. So this one, it was poking straight up just because of the box, but it is a root. So I can see that it's a root. And so how you can tell the difference between like a root and like a sprout, the sprout has this like almost like celery looking. It's like a light green, and even these ones that are like a light yellow. And they also have the beginnings of leaves. So this long root here, I was going to plant it up like this. I'm going to go ahead and gently pull it down so that it's planted like this. And what I read in that article is that bleeding heart plants, they will do well in a container for 4 to 5 years. And then you might want to consider like either repotting them in a bigger pot. And I'm going to play it by ear because these pots are kind of small. So, you can repot them or like plant them in a permanent location on your property. So like move this pot around and find where your plant likes to live. And then where it likes to live, go ahead and plant it there. So same thing, 3 part soil, 1 part perlite. And this one's gonna be planted deeper than the other one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and plant this one, and I'm going to stop with the perlite on that. I'm just going to fill in with just dirt on the very top. So I've created kind of a large, like, opening hole, and I'm going to gently, oh no, a root broke off. That's so sad. Okay. I'm going to gently put it down in, and I'm going to try and place this root down a little bit. Maybe he wants to fly away. There we go. Kind of want that to be more centered. Now is the time to get your plant in the position you want it in. So take a look at the top like this. All right, now I'm going to cut some more of this really brown part. It's looking kind of sad. Okay, and I don't want that in there in case of like bacteria or, you know, just don't want that in there. I'm considering just chopping that whole spot, because there's a whole bunch of, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut this right here. There's a whole bunch of little sprouts down here, and I think it'll force the plant to focus on these little sprouts. Cut off this brown. Okay, now for the rest of it, I'm just going to fill in with dirt, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space at the top. Now it's okay, this part of the plant hasn't ever seen light, so it's okay to go ahead and cover it. And that's just what I'm going to do. It's like it's emerging from being asleep all winter. So that's what these dormant plants are. Just shipped in their dormant state. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of this on top. The mix that it came in. And like half a scoop more think you can see how full I have it. And now I'm going to fertilize it with fish fertilizer. This is the stinkiest fertilizer ever, but it is so good. It's so good for your plants. This is so exciting. I'm so happy. All right. So to use the fish fertilizer on perennials, you're going to use 3 tablespoons per 25 foot of square foil. Wait a minute. Outdoor container plants. 1 tablespoon. So I'm going to use 1 tablespoon in this little flower pot. And then should water them both with it. And that should be good. It's like, wait a minute. It's a perennial, but it's in a container. So here is the chart. It says outdoor container plants, 1 tablespoon. And I just do 1 tablespoon per gallon. So I don't know if this is a whole gallon, actually. I'm putting 1 tablespoon in this. It will be fine. This kind doesn't really burn your plants. It won't burn it. It even says on there, won't burn. Some fertilizers, like Miracle Grow fertilizer, you have to be really careful. You can burn the roots of your plants. You have to follow those charts super, super closely. But for these plants, I think they're going to do really good. I'm going to hit them with 1 tablespoon in this little tiny thing. Anyway, I'm going to go get a tablespoon. Hey, back up. Get away from my plant. Bad kitty. Just mixing it up. Brian hates this stuff. It was in my garage, so it's a little frozen. Anyway, all right. Just want to make sure I mix it up good. I need a stick or something. All right, let's do this. So I'm just gonna water them with the fish fertilizer. Thank you so much for watching our video today. I hope you enjoyed these tips on container planting for bleeding hearts. Let me know in the comments if you consider them a bush or a vine or let me know what you consider a bleeding heart to be. A tree? It's not a tree. It's a plant that comes back every year. A shrub? Would you consider it like a shrub? I really, really hope that these produce flowers. I cannot wait to see how these ones do in the container versus in the ground. And I can't believe my other one survived all year, even though it had like the worst care and treatment. Just goes to show you, you don't have to be perfect to do plants. All right, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this content, we hope that you'll subscribe. Bye. Plant a few plants. Get down tonight. Okay, I'm ridiculous. Have a good day, everybody.